rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barb, take the roll call.
Mayor Steve Golden.
Here.
Councilmembers Kevin Robinson.
Here.
Joel Milbar.
Here.
Sarah Hudvick. Here. Robert Bowles.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Buell raised that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Hudvick makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to tonight's consent agenda, I'm going to pull one item here, the 2020 residential recycling agreement with Anoka County. For discussion, Paul, our public works director, has some things he wants to point out about the tonnage goals that have been revised. So other than that, do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's consent agenda, barring that one item?
Make that motion, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Mewbauer makes a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Now we have a couple special events here going on tonight. I'm going to, first of all, meeting of the public, I'm going to back that up part. I'm going to go to special business right away because the Scouts have a 7 o'clock meeting, and I want to make sure they can make that. So we have a recognition tonight of a couple Eagle Scouts that have made it to Eagle, rather. And we have also a fire chief award that we're going to be giving out here. But first we'll do the Eagle Scouts. So on that, those two gentlemen will come forth. Jacob and Diller. All right, let me get this out. Let's go up here to the front so everybody can see us. This is a City of St. Francis, Minnesota Certificate of Recognition awarded to Dylan Nagel for outstanding achievement and exceptional leadership ability as evidenced by your attainment of Eagle Scout from Boy Scout Troop 3511, September 9, 2019. For you. And the same to you, Jacob Lane. Certificate of Recognition awarded to Jacob Lane for outstanding achievement and exceptional leadership ability as evidenced by your attainment of Eagle Scout from Boy Scout Troop 3511, August 26, 2019. So let's show this here. We'll put them up so we get a picture here. You hold that, I'll be in the middle. I'll go like this, okay?
Sorry.
Anybody else want to take a picture? Okay. Congratulations. And while everybody's here, I'm going to hand out one more award. It's an honor to hand this award out as it was the other award they just gave out. This is to our Fire Chief Dave Schmidt. He was selected as 2019 Fire Officer of the Year for populations fewer than 10,000 in recognition of your accomplishments in furthering the goals of the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association, St. Francis Fire Department, and the community. By the way, just to let everybody know, this was done by a committee, a third-party entity. All 5 members unanimously voted for Dave to get this award, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. There you are.
We'll face this way and get a picture.
Well, then have it back in there. First. All right, let's see. Everybody here.
Good area.
Congratulations. Every once in a while we get to have fun at our meetings, so this is one of the times we have some fun. So thank you for all showing up. Enjoy your time at your meeting. Now we'll move on to meeting over the public part. Anybody?
Yes.
Well, the consent.
Thank you. Yeah, we see that. Paul, you want to mention what's going on about the tonnage goals?
Mayor and Council, Anoka County asked us to pulled this from agendas just to further clarify the tonnage goals for 2020. They calculated our goals as well as many other cities incorrectly, so they are recalculating them. From what I understand, it's likely that our goal will go down. How much, I don't know, but they had calculated us at 887 tons for 2020. So that is the correction that they're trying to make. It's likely I'll have a new contract with that new calculation next week. If you would wish to pull it and we'll bring it back, or you could pass it contingent upon those changes, and you can make that update however you want to proceed.
Well, from my opinion anyways on this, recycling we do every year. It's important to do it. We have the goals every year, except I think we're just a little low this year. But I think the public likes it. I think it's a good thing to support for the environment. And I think the only thing that's changing is the 107, got that goal that they had 107 tons, maybe downgraded. So I think it may probably be a little more meetable by us if they do lessen the amount, that 107 tons.
Sure.
So I don't see myself, Council, that we need to bring it back other than just changing the tonnage. So I'll give it to Kevin.
I would agree. It should be satisfactory.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with it, there's no penalty or anything, it's the goal.
There's no penalty, right?
No.
Just the goal? Okay. Sir? All right, then on that, thank you, Paul. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt part of the consent agenda, the 2020 residential recycling agreement with Anoka County on a contingent of the revised tonnage goals?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Rutherford makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, now we can move on to meeting open to the public part.
On Dallas, is it Moon or? Munn.
Yep.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
First name of Dallas, last name Munn, address is 4461, 236 Lane, Northwest. Issue I'm here basically is something you may know, I do have a pit bike track in my backyard, and the issue is the neighbor next door. Gary, as some of you may know who Gary is, has not only called the police department numerous times about it and told there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing with what I have, yet they're still called, they still show up, waste their time, waste my time. And it gets to the point where every time I take the bike out, there's a camera always looking at me. And it's getting to the point where it's borderline harassment in my eyes, with what I can go home and enjoy what I'm doing without having to fear the police or Gary coming out and causing a scene. The noise is not going to stop. Good thing is a pit bike, and I have snowmobile many times. A lot of people do. They're perfectly legal. The exhaust is on, is perfectly legal. There were the decibel limits. But Gary still has the need to cause a scene about it. My question to you guys is, when does it become an issue for everyone?
Well, I'm glad you brought it to our attention, because I talked to Kate about this, and she says that you guys are very workable, so I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I know
Yeah.
council does too, by the way. As we mentioned to Gary the last time, it's hard to change the law just to suffice it or please one person, so we're not going to be doing that. I think that comes down to it. So, Todd, tell us what we can do here. It seems like an issue that Gary has with his health and his hearing, and that, but other than building walls, high walls around, which I don't think is a solution, I don't know if he can, I don't know what else I can tell you. The movie would be one solution for him. How many acres do you have?
Just over one.
Just over one. Is Gary just about that, Kate, too, about one?
Correct, oh, lots in that area,
Yeah,
both the same
okay.
size.
So Todd, what can we do here? It doesn't seem like we can please Gary without changing an ordinance or law, which we can't really do easily, or shouldn't do easily.
Yeah, and really unfortunately, if we do get a call for service, we are obligated to respond and address it. See if the officers are observing what the complaint is all about. Our officers have been instructed to, they don't really have a choice on what calls to ignore and what calls to respond to. They get paid to respond to calls for service. To my knowledge, he hasn't been cited for anything yet. It's a minor inconvenience each time we have to show up. Maybe it takes a little bit of time to have a chat and maybe mediate the situation a little bit. That's about as far as we've gotten involved thus far, I believe. But at this time, I don't see much changing as far as our officers responding. I think they're obligated.
Well, let me ask you this, is the decibels within limits, right?
Well, the decibel level is set by the Minnesota Pollution Control
Right,
Agency.
so
We don't-
they are within the limits though?
As far as I know, but without a meter to verify that, I wouldn't know for sure.
And they're within the time frame of the noise ordinance between 7 AM and 10 PM, they're within that time frame,
As far as I understand.
right?
Mhm.
So let me ask you, how workable is your relationship with Gary? I gotta believe it's difficult, but.
It's got to where he won't even talk to me, when he just calls the police instead. I've got him try not to go and talk to me, and all about it, and he just doesn't want to have it. So it's not talk to me.
And let me ask you this, we've asked him this about, as he's got other neighbors siding with him. What are your neighbors thinking?
The neighbor left me, comes up and I work.
Oh, really?
Yesterday was only comes up, him and his wife both come out and ride the track with us. And it's, we only ride for half-hour increments because we realize the area obviously has an issue with noise. We've had to work with them on that. All right, about half hour each time, grab their air cool 1.5 engines, when you pass that, the motor's gonna basically melt down, so you can't ride more than that. But yeah, there's just, no one has had a single issue in the area with this.
So I think there's 4 neighbors that are involved in this, between you and Gary and 2 others, I think it is.
From my understanding, I've only had to talk with, or had issues with Gary, Rusty has had no issues with it, Nick has had no issues with it, and then behind me has no issues with it either. So there's another 2, I don't know who they are, but the bordering neighbors don't want to hear.
And so, and you tried to reach out to him, and you wrote him.
I knocked on the door a couple times, never got a response from them, nothing.
So Kate, what can the city do?
Mayor, council, there's not a lot the city can do at this point. You know, this is really a personal matter between Gary. You know, we've told Gary what the ordinances are in regards to Dallas being allowed to ride the bikes. We've looked at the drainage and utility, we've looked at easements, we've looked at lot lines, we've looked at erosion. We've kind of run through a lot of that. There's really not a next step for the city.
Right, he couldn't do a fence if he wants to right now financially, he told us.
Correct. And it fence, he's in like a split level, so he's got an upper level that he stands on to watch Dallas ride the bikes and take pictures. So a fence would have to be 20, 30 feet high to really block his deck. So that's not even a solution as far as noise either.
Council, Joe, what do you have to
I would
say?
just ask Dave too, if there's anything that you could even, obviously, like I said, I don't think there's much we can do with the ordinances and everything the way they are, but as far as this question, as far as if he has any recourse, as far as the harassment issue that he feels, I mean, if Gary's on his private property, I wouldn't think there would be much you can do about it.
No, it's always through a window, you can see camera blind in the crack, so the line sitting right there.
I guess I just asked him the legal aspect of this question about harassment, if there's anything there,
And then, you know, I would say so that'd be a private matter.
that's what I figured.
I mean, there's nothing the city can do to reach out to Gary, we tried to talk sense to him. We looked at everything like you said, and still there's nothing, the easements and all that are in play. Everything that he was told years ago, the easements are just the same as they were.
Well, there's really 2 issues. As far as what Dallas is doing on his property, you know, we've looked at all the possible ordinances that would really be in tune to what he's doing, what he's using it for, what, you know, like I said, the erosion, the noise, the drainage and utilities or any wetlands. So that has all been removed. As far as Gary, he could put up a fence. He has a large lot. He has plenty of space. I'm not completely understanding why he didn't last time, because even if there's a drainage and utility, he still has quite a bit of yard he could have used. But again, because he's in a split entry with a higher level, that fence would have to be so high to kind of block any noise, or it would require, you know, tall trees. There would be some landscaping he could do, but I know he's also had concerns about motor vehicles on Ambassador, so I think it's beyond just what the one neighbor is doing for that individual, and he would need quite a bit to soundproof.
But as far as the easements, we checked that. He was thinking the easements wouldn't allow him to do anything, but you're telling me now he can do things.
He has on an acre yard, he has room for fencing, yes. I mean, he has all along.
You might not be able to put it right where you want it to, though, too.
And it won't be as high as it needs to be. I mean, to be honest with you, it sounds like an issue with Gary. And you're being workable, which again, the council appreciates. You're reaching out to him, but he doesn't, you know, come back to you amicably, rather. I don't know, I mean, the police get a call, they have to go out,
Which I understand. yeah.
which is sad because it costs the taxpayers money and
And
that.
sometimes if an officer shows up and there is actually absolutely no activity, and they show up in a timely fashion shortly after the call was received, they may not stop and have a conversation. But if they do see similar activity out and about, see a pit bike out and about, they may have a conversation. And it's an inconvenience, I understand, but at the same time, we have an obligation to follow.
I understand that, but on the one hand, you have a neighbor that's trying to work with them and not doing anything illegal. You have another neighbor that wants the laws and ordinances changed to suffice him. But he has other issues besides this neighbor. Man, I really feel for him. I mean, I wish we could do something here, but I don't know what we can do. Kevin, do you have any input?
I really don't. It's a perplexing situation, and again, I'm all for personal property rights, and Mr. Dunn, within his Mr. Munn, within his boundaries, and he's willing to work and actually talk. That's what was our concern early on, and there's zero communication, which there's a lot of that nowadays amongst neighbors and whatnot, but you should be able to do what you want with your property within reason, and it sounds like things are reasonable at this point. You can't contort the law, so suit one and not the other.
Sarah?
Well, I agree. I'm sorry that he's not able to talk to you. I want to thank you for being considerate to him and limiting your riding, even though you need to for the health of your bikes. I understand that, but I also think that you seem to be here being reasonable, and that even if you could ride him for longer, you would be willing to work with him. So I'm sorry that he is, inconveniencing you, and you're trying to work with him. I'm sorry.
There's possibly one thing the city could do here. I don't know if it will work and everything like that. I can reach out to Gary myself. What if I could set up a time for you to come and talk, you and him and me, with staff, with the city administrator? I know it's going a little bit beyond my call of duty, rather, but I'm willing to do this and try to get some peace there. I think it's a shame that you're trying to reach out, he's not reciprocating, and the same thing is he thinks that the world's against him. But maybe if I can bring both parties together and negotiate something, at least let you talk together. In an amicable way, maybe we could solve something. So how about if I reach out to Gary? Why don't you leave your number with Joe Cohen or Barbara, city clerk, and I'll reach out to you, and then I'll try to set up a meeting here and see what we can do together.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay? At least that's something we can do. Okay? Thanks for coming forward. Appreciate it. Anything else, Barbara?
No.
All right, let's move it on to public hearings. Assessment of public hearings, certifying assessments for delinquent utilities, miscellaneous invoices, and administrative fees, resolution 2019-50. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
And your service.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, in your packet is the delinquent bills for 2019 be certified to the 2020 taxes. This is an opportunity for anyone to come and speak to the council directly, so we'll open the public hearing, take public comments. Once all public comments are received, council can debate the merits of any requests that are made or questions asked, and then move to approve, table, or deny the resolution certified bills.
All right, 6:18, open up the public hearing. Anyone who wants to come forward, state your name and address. Nobody? This will be a short public hearing. Nobody? All right, I'll close the public hearing at 6:19. I want to say that one of the things that kind of got to me was how many pages there were of MS4 delinquencies. I mean, I think I counted like 17, 18 pages. I keep telling everybody that the MS4 was brought down from the MPCA, from the federal government to the MPCA to our jurisdiction. Also stating that there's populations of above 10,000 or less than 5,000 that discharge their stormwater into outstanding resource value water, which we do with Seeley Brook. So we are not in control of this MS4. We are just the stewards of collecting the money that was delegated to us from again the federal government, to the state, to the MPCA, to us. So I don't understand why people, after 3 years of implementation, it still keeps going on like this, but it does. It seems like they want another property tax versus they want to bill to them, and they're willing to pay the extra $6 to do it. So I don't know what else I can say about that. Staff has any Anything to say about that at all?
No, I think it's becoming, pretty consistent on rural pay stormwater and when we go with property taxes, so, similar numbers to last year, I don't have a direct comparison, but it seems to be.
Well, I know we had some requests from some residents to do that. We found out we couldn't do that. So it seems like that's what they want to do. They want to pay the $6. So, Sarah, do you have any comment on this?
No, it would just be a lot easier and a lot less headache for our staff, I believe, they shouldn't have to sit and go through this just because you're protesting something we can't control. So I would suggest you pay your $60 and just make everything a lot easier.
And once again, the money is used for stormwater-related activities. So throughout the city, if there's stormwater issues with piping or drainage or whatever, that's what this money is used for. It's not an account drawing money for the city in general use. It's just for stormwater-related activities. Joe, do you have anything to say?
I was just curious, since you brought up, and you might not even have the numbers, but for the, if it's consistent with the MS4, what about the water bills that are delinquent too? Is that kind of consistent where people just kind of let it go for so long and then?
Yeah, I think there is a certain portion of residents that just kind of let things go and then get taken care of in taxes, and maybe they're on the routine and it's kind of realize things are like, we don't do water shops anymore, so they know what the money's going to come out.
Well, it's 10% more every month too, and that adds up too, so that's a lot more than $6.
Well, the MS4 is only a flat, can't go above 75, but. Kelly, you got anything to say?
Joe, is there any coincidence that some of these addresses are sequential? I mean, you're seeing neighbor after neighbor, so to speak. There's quite a few Yucca streets here. There's, as you look at some of the other ones, like 227th Court Northwest, 225th Lane Northwest. I mean, there's a series of addresses here that are, there's a sequence, especially up in the utility side, or the utility side, not just the MS money, but.
Joint forces.
Yeah, I mean, the utility system within St. Francis isn't nearly as big as the entire city, right? So it's going to run on a lot of the same addresses.
I mean, like address X has $1,261, address Y, which seems to be almost a neighbor, is $87, and you see the.
Yeah, so 1,200 could be almost a full year's worth, whereas 80 might be a month.
Okay.
Unpaid. I mean, if you're going to say $100 a month for the utilities, just roughly.
And they're just allowing it to roll through to their taxes with the extra 10% that we put on for admin fees and whatnot.
And we are notified
Yes.
multiple times.
Well, I also know that some neighboring cities just absorb this cost and they actually put it into their levy. And we chose to do it a little bit different. I know Elk River does it a little bit different also. They go by square footage and road frontage footage, and there's different calculations out there. And again, some neighborhoods have already benefited from this money. When I first got my first one, I owned a lot for 3 years with no house on it. And I went, what the heck is this? So you dive in and dig in and you try to understand what it's about. And it's unfunded, mandated stuff coming down from a high, which is down to us. And so we have to do something with it and either put it in a levy and make it a secret or hide it from you. This is just out in the open, which I think is awesome. I know we're working to use transparency, but it's out there and this is what we use it for. And again, some neighborhoods in St. Francis have benefited from this already, knowingly and unknowingly. So.
Right, the one problem with the levy, though, is you affect all people, ones that pay and ones that don't. So that's not fair.
Oh, I wasn't saying to include it. That wasn't my.
No, I'm saying that some cities do that, but
Right.
There is a portion of people that don't pay. We shouldn't subject the people that do pay to follow the rules and laws
Right.
to punish them for this. So, good. This is the one thing that the council has said this many times through 3 years of being mayor, that I didn't get elected to do abatements and this type of delinquencies and fines and stuff like that. But we are forced to do it for the betterment of the city. They're being properly notified. They have ample time to pay it. I would rather see them pay it than run up these fines that bring it to our attention. So, any other discussion by council on this? None? All right, so on top of that, do I have a motion tonight to adopt resolution 2019-50, assessment, public hearing, certifying assessments for delinquent utilities, miscellaneous invoices, and administrative fees? And I want to also go on to say that where it was a public hearing, they had every opportunity to come and speak to us tonight. So, do I have a motion to adopt tonight's resolution 2019-50?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Mewbauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes, thank you. All right, moving on to second meeting open to the public. Anyone, Barbara?
No.
No, okay, all right. Then, let's see, I will go on to fire department quarterly report. Dave?
Mayor and council, before you is our fire department third quarter report. During the third quarter, the fire department responded to over 117 calls for service. That's an increase of 15 calls in comparison to the third quarter of 2018, or a 13.6% increase in calls for service. On the year, we have seen volumes increase pretty dramatically from 277 for the same reporting period in 2018 to 350 in 2019, which equates to an increase of just over 23%. And as some of my team members here will tell you, we just continue to get busier and busier. This past weekend, we did top 416 calls for the year already, with almost 2 full months to go. Fortunately, we are pleased to report that we did have $0 loss during the third quarter due to fire. It's not ironic that that happens during October follows with fire prevention, and Captain Sturzel and our team has done a fantastic job at keeping the public informed on how to remain safe in their homes. We did also see a slight decrease in response times from 2018 to 2019 of 2 seconds, from 10 minutes and 15 seconds on average to 10 minutes and 13 seconds. The third quarter does tend to be the most difficult time for part-time paid on-call fire departments. We are dealing with July, August, and September, the gravy months of Minnesota, when people really try to squeeze in their summer vacations, their trips, their family outings. And due to that, we typically see a little bit of a reduction in firefighters showing up to calls, which you'll see reflected in a reduction from 6.9 in the same reporting period from 2018 to 6.6 in 2019. That does not take into account that we did have 2 firefighters on non-duty medical-related leaves. One has since returned for the fourth quarter, which is Captain Chad Schroeder. You'll see the number of variances that we used through the third quarter as well. On the second page, I highlighted some significant events that we responded to over the third quarter. On the third page, you'll see our incident breakdown on the types of calls and volumes that we run to, whether they're fire or rescue or hazardous conditions related. Following that, there is previous reports which show our incident breakdown into subtypes. We need a little further clarification on what type of medical emergency we might be responding to, or if it was a fire-related incident. Response times is broken down on the following page, and you'll see on the second to last page our breakdown in units available or responding to calls. And the last couple pages succinctly show the calls that come in by day of the week, which Fridays and Saturdays do continue to be our busiest days of the week, which is not uncommon for any municipality, and then incident hours breakdown as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have in regards to the report.
Well, that response time, by the way, is just 2 seconds, but 2 seconds, a matter of life and death, is a big deal.
It sure can be, and we have seen a steady decline in response times from when we can actually give you some reliable trackable data, which started in about 2017. We have shown a measurable decrease in response times since 2017 till now.
And
there is some variant, right?
Yeah.
The way that our city is laid out, we're very narrow but long. So if we do have more runs that tend to be on the outskirts of town, that take us a little bit longer to get there, that does have an impact on our response times in the aggregate.
But you're definitely going the right direction.
We're going in the right direction.
And I'd like to see that where it says here about the dollar amounts in zero, which is very good.
Yes, sir.
Your staff's working very well. All right, Joe, you have anything to comment on the report?
No, I don't have anything to comment at this time. Good report, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Very nice report, but can you give me give me a little more breakout of this average attendees and incident,
Sure.
Would it be, it's in our packet, it's page 64, 67.
Yep, and let me just flip to that page for you. So the way that our reporting software works is it takes an aggregate of all the responses within that reporting period. Then it also divides it out based on the amount of people that were assigned on average to that unit, okay? So you look at Engine 2, the average response for Engine 2, we averaged 3.6 firefighters every time Engine 2 went out the door. The number in the second category is it says 83 times Engine 2 rolled out the door. Okay. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And further on down the list. Now, where you'll see some deviation is where it's listed as the chief, captains, lieutenants, That's always a one-unit vehicle. Okay, so the average aggregate will always be one.
Okay.
All right? Our standby number is how many people responded to the call, but did not get assigned to an apparatus. So the apparatus left the station, we got canceled and didn't roll a piece of equipment, or they just stood by at the station while another crew was out on the event. So that's that aggregate number there.
And so whoever answers the call, the standby, are they still compensated for coming in? When the alarm goes out and the beepers just start chatting?
When the pager goes off and you show up, you get paid.
Okay. And then determination of, maybe drilling a little too deep, but six persons, individuals show up, how do you decide who goes where?
So we have a deployment chart, so everybody knows based on the type of call that we're responding to, that determines the appropriate apparatus. We do have a number maximum for each apparatus based on the span of control. So engine 2, for example, and along with tanker 1, has a maximum capacity of 5 firefighters. So that's how we determine. First 5 people through the door, get on the rig. If we don't have 5, or if they're delayed in getting to the station, we'll respond with however many crew members we can assemble at the time.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of an ebb and flow. Some days we're a little bit thicker on staff. Obviously, some days are a little bit thinner. Evenings are obviously easier to get staff to the station, as most people work a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job. Daytime tends to be a little bit more challenging. Fortunately for us, we have some people that are either self-employed or work evenings or have a flex schedule that they can show up during the day on a fairly reliable basis.
It was pretty much first come, first serve.
Exactly right.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir?
No, excellent report.
Thank you.
Very good report. Thank you, Dave. All right, before we move on to council member reports, Paul wants to bring up some updated info.
Mayor and council, just a couple quick verbal updates. I want to give an update on the Oak Grove sewer connection. That did happen midday last Thursday. We did receive our first payment for that connection, and they are flowing to us at our wastewater facility. As of right now, there is no noticeable change at the wastewater treatment plant. So, the crosswalk lighting or street lighting for the Pedersen Drive crosswalks, that was delayed due to some miscommunication on Nexus's end. They had told me late last week that that should be happening within the next week or so. So look for that to happen.
As the 2 crosswalks on Pedersen.
Yes.
Fox, back on Fox and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Very good.
Near Fox and near the west entrance to County Market.
Right, adding additional light to the crosswalk.
Yep, a light above the crosswalk.
Very good.
And then also, our meters, the fourth notices are going out last week. We did have these go out to 150 residents on Route 1. We were, I think, over half of them have already responded, so they are getting people's attention and people are calling and scheduling. Total, we have 948 meters completed. There are 147 additionally scheduled. So our total is 1735. So we're nearly 63% completed if you count the scheduled ones already. So these Route 2 is also going to be getting some of these today. I don't know the total in that route, how many were delivered this week, but those are going on. So just wanted to give council an update on that.
I want to ask you one question here on this page 20 of the package about the 2020 grant funding award. Do we get the max on it? From what I'm understanding here, we got the max. It says here, well, the total funding for the 2020 residential recycling program is based on budget amounts stating that you've applied for grants.
Yeah,
You got all the grants?
SCORE funding is based on the programs that we participate in that chart. And as we participate in those programs, that gives us the money that's available. And we do ask for the maximum in the
And we got it?
programs that we participate. As far as I know, yes.
So that $37,030 we got.
That should be our 2020 a lot.
Because the base money was 23,100, now you're up to 37,000, so very good, very good. By the way, I just want to test that I had my meter changed in my house, took about 30 minutes max. They were in the house, put a cap on my meter base was good, and then they changed the transmitter box. What we're doing this for is to be more efficient in our reading of our meters, and to prevent problems such as a resident's out of town, let's say there's a water leak, we can catch it now. We're more on top of it, and better service and better customer service to you, the residents. We felt this was a good move because the last company tried to gouge us about 128% increase one time, I think it was, in that range. We felt the best way to go was to have take control of this and put it in the control of the city's hands. We have one of our public works employees, Jen, doing the administrative part of it on the computers, so she'd be able to see if there's a problem ahead of time. So this is just keeping current with technology and utilizing it to the best of our ability to service you, the residents, and our customers the best that we can. And this was at no cost to you, the residents, other than the fact that if you have a leak before the water meter, that is your responsibility. But other than that, your only responsibility is to call in to get the schedule and to make sure that they have a clear path to the meter so they can change it out. And then it's a done deal. But I thought it was a very good preventive and proactive program. Looking forward to saving some knocks and not being at the mercy of another company to gouge us for rate increases. So I think that was a good move by council. Anything that Kevin had to say about what Paul said?
No.
Joe? Sarah? Okay. Then moving on to council member reports. I will start with Sarah.
On October 28th, I attended the school board meeting. St. Francis Xavier Schools was awarded a grant from MnDOT to create a safe routes to school plan. Elementary school, middle school, and high school are all part of that, so they will be starting to form some teams to work on that. So that's pretty exciting for our schools. And then on Saturday, I attended the show choir and band and cake breakfast at the Legion, and it was very well attended. They had excellent raffle baskets. I did not win one, but I tried.
Kevin?
I really have nothing to report, Mayor.
Joe?
I went to the fire council with you, and I think it's a good takeaway from that is hopefully we can get enough public officials to show up at the special meeting coming up. It's been a couple weeks to get the county's fire budget in line with city's budgets. I think that'll only help all the cities as well as the fire departments.
I would agree wholeheartedly with that. That meeting is set for 7 o'clock on November 21st at SBM in Blaine. So we will be there.
Good.
Hopefully we'll have a quorum this time and get that approved. I think it's very good when budgets sync with city budgets.
Trust me, I know.
Okay, just let the public know on November 11th, which is a Monday, City Veterans Day. Veterans Day, the city will be closed. And on that, I can just say to you that I've always said here, please signal your turns when you're exiting off a roundabout. It's one of my pet peeves, but simply because in a roundabout, you never know if the person's going to go off the roundabout or through the roundabout. A simple signal lets that person know that they can enter that roundabout. So it may be a little thing, but it's a big thing. I know it's not a state law, but I sure say to you that I know when I see someone signal, it helps me know that I can enter that roundabout safely without pausing or hesitating to see if they're going to go through it or not. Also, I would say to you that, as I said this in newsletters and I've said this many times in meetings here, if you have a concern or an issue, you're a resident here, we serve you. So bring your issue or concern to us, not on Facebook, but to us. And like I know I bring this up many times here, Kevin has said in the last meetings here, many meetings ago, instead of 30 minutes on a keyboard, give us 15 minutes face to face. Bring your issue to us. We will look into it. I promise you that. Staff will do that. Council will do that. We will look into it. We'll give it the full due diligence that it deserves. At the end of it, we may not be able to give you a decision that you want to hear, but we'll give you a truthful, honest answer. We really will. We believe in that. We believe government for the people and by the people here in the city, and we've put that into effect in the last 3 years while we've been on this council. So I can just tell you that we're not here to hurt you. We're here to serve you. But you have to work with us. In the Mayor's Handbook, and I've said this many times before, it states residents working with staff, working with council for a better city. And I truly believe that's the right way to work. Your input's important to us. Bring a reasonable request to us, and we'll try to move them out for you. At the end of the day, we'll give you the honest answer that you deserve. But once again, it may not be the answer you want to hear. But like this issue today with Dallas coming forth and all that, I can reach out as a mayor, maybe I have a little clout that way to get Gary to the table. If I could do that, I'd be more than glad and willing to do that. So hopefully, and I appreciate that you came forward, workable parties make differences. Non-workable parties make no difference. I've always said if you give me 5 open-minded people at a table, a discussion, that one or two things will happen, either a solution to your problem or a direction to the solution. Hopefully we'll have a solution or a direction to it, so we'll try. And trying and failing is better than not trying at all. So once again, I want to thank you all, the Eagle Scouts, good luck to you guys. I know Valerie, just to let you know on record here, we'll be doing this once a year. A lot easier than one at a time, whatever, so we'll do this once a year, we're glad to do it, probably. But good job for you guys. Firefighters, you're doing an excellent job, thank you for your service. Once again, the reward was well earned and deserved. Thank you, Dave, for your service, I appreciate that. I know council does too, I know staff does too. It makes our life a lot easier, knowing that we can count on a good fire department to be there when we need it. And same for our police and all the public works, and all our staff. We appreciate all the work you do. No one says that a lot, so I'm saying that right now on record. On that, is there any further business that the city needs? Every once in a while, we get an early meeting here, and I think we're going to get one tonight. So I will call this meeting at the conclusion at 6:41 on Monday, the 4th of November.